in the world. There is nothing not ironic about any section of that entire statement. So a 35-year-old software firm, really? You lived that long? In West Virginia? What? And they make it for libraries. What? Yeah, so we were pretty surprised all the way around when we started working with them. And our first task with them was to help them with problems that they were having in their customer support department. And the managers had told us all of these things about, oh, you know, they're not the best people, you know, you should, you know, we'll do the best we can. And so we arrive, and these people are angry, like that angry. And they are literally this angry for two reasons. One is they're coming to work every day and they're vandalizing the building. They're kicking holes in the walls, they're punching their monitors, they're breaking their desks. Like, maybe not every day, but enough. And they have a ticketing system, and that ticketing system has 2,000 tickets in it, so they have a backlog of 2,000 tickets. Every day they go to work, and it's like this frozen tidal wave over their heads of tickets. And they come in and they go, I am lousy at my job because the metric that I'm seeing is so oppressive. The group was doing about 250 tickets a day, but they were bringing in 250 tickets a day. So if anybody sneezed or went to the bathroom or got sick, it added to the backlog. Now, these people are governed by something that's called a Net Promoter Score. The Net Promoter Score is based on one metric, which is, would you recommend this service to a friend? 1 to 100 scale, their ranking was 95. Comcast would literally hire people to kill other people to get a Net Promoter Score of more than 60. These guys were amazing at their job. They had 24 people. They were supporting 60 products. They were getting calls from things from ancient Vaxes all the way to modern equipment. They were doing incredible work. And they went to work every day angry because of this metric. Now the picture that I've shown here, which I don't know if you can tell exactly, but it's of one woman in a cage fighting scenario beating the crap out of some guy. And the reason that that's up there was the two natural leaders of this group were actually cage fighters. They were awesome at their jobs, then they left for a couple of years to become professional cage fighters, then they came back again. We were really in West Virginia. But they wanted this change. And when we came in, they let us know how angry they were, right? So the first thing that they did, of course, was they said, well, since we've got this huge backlog, we should have an award for whoever does the most tickets every day, which of course gets the stern, angry look. This is the stern, angry Deming picture that we have here. It's like, really? Really? Like, for 50 damn years I've been saying, really? You know, I couldn't find the Deming banging his head on the desk picture. I looked really hard. I actually called Kevin and Judy and said, you know, I would like pictures of Deming, like either really angry or riding a BMX bike, you know, one of the two. Just, but they sent me more pictures that looked like this. So they had their unknown variation, and then they tried to legislate it away, which is what most of our society does with problems. They're like, oh, are you bothering me? Well, I'm going to make bothering me illegal. Don't bother me. There, under penalty of torture, you know. So when they put up when they gave the award, almost immediately what was left of the fragile environment that these people were working in completely broke down. So every day somebody would win the award and everybody else would say, you cherry picked all the easy tickets, I took the hard tickets, I'm the real worker here, you suck. And you know, then they started to lose people and lost like some very, very good long-term employees. So what we did, so now, Tony and I have a mantra, and it's that we only ask people to do two things. One is visualize your work so that you can see what you're doing, because most of the time our work is invisible. And then only do as much work as you can handle. So visualize your work and limit your work in process. So we did that with them, and we did a few other things. We suggested to them perhaps that maybe all of their work wasn't individual tickets, and that maybe working as 24 people in a room really wasn't a team. So we were kind of hands-off, kind of reprimandy, but hands-off. So we said, you know, rather than being a team of 24 people, you might want to experiment with having teams, like have 3 or 4 teams. So they did. They set up 3 teams here, which you can see, the blue team, the green team, and the red team. And then, without really our prompting, they developed 2 new roles. And their first role was called a ticket slayer. And the ticket slayer would handle any ticket that took between like 5 minutes and 15 minutes. And then they had another person that was called a smooth operator. And the smooth operator would do triage and do any tickets that could be done basically in the time of a normal phone call. And then anything that didn't fall in those areas went to other people. And the ticket slayers would rotate in and out of the task because it was such fast processing that it would burn people out. Almost immediately, they started chipping away at that backlog. And within a month, they'd gotten from 2,000 to about 1,750. Which still leaves a big mountain, but you can see, you know, the divot that was put into it. And so they were using one of our personal Kanbans, or they're using personal Kanbans, and they started doing so much work that we showed up one time and they met us at the door and they're like, we have to see you in the conference room. And you know, these are big, you know, cage fighters telling us this, and we're like, yeah, that sounds like fun. So we go in and they're like, we're not gonna do personal Kanban anymore, so we're done. It's like, done with what? And so I said, well, we're done. And I said, no, we'll find out a different way, because I want you to visualize your work, but you don't have to use a personal Kanban. And they're like, but you're the personal Kanban people. No, we're the visualize your work people, so we'll figure out a different way. So I said, okay, well, you know, we'll come around, we'll go to the meetings, you know, you can see the stand-up meetings for these groups, and then you can come to our Deming meeting. And we're like, you're what? And they're like, yeah, every day after these 3 groups meet, we have a representative from each of those groups come and they meet with management, and we talk about the continuous improvement stuff that we did the day before and what our results were. It's like, you did what? Like, you guys didn't graduate from high school. Holy crap. So we were completely blown away, and over the next 6 or 7 months, these people went nuts, not only getting rid of their problem, but finding other problems and getting rid of them. So they redesigned their working space. One of the reasons they were kicking holes in the walls was because at one point they had a manager that always wanted to see what everybody was doing. So that manager literally built a big platform in the middle of the room so that he could see and mind you, the only thing these people did was this. You know, you couldn't see anything. Maybe you could see that they were on Facebook, but they did this before there was Facebook. So like the first thing they did was they came in and like took axes and completely removed the thing from the middle of the room. So these guys are flying along and they're doing this, and this is part of, we put up 2 big 60-inch monitors after they stopped using the Kanbans, and we said, okay, we're going to give you real-time data, and then when you see things change, that can change your tactics on how you're dealing with tickets as they're coming in. So below here, what you can't see is there was like a ticker that was saying time to first touch, time to completion, time, you know, satisfactory resolution, tickets not yet resolved, things like that. But then one day I was on the phone with their CTO, and I said, hey, Jabe, I noticed in the database that there's a bunch of really old tickets that no one's touched yet. Can you really quickly put a ticket aging summary up on the board so that I can see it? This is just a website, right, so I can see it from Seattle. And so he puts this board up. And it's ugly, right? So it's like age. You know, this is actually after it was up for a few minutes, but initially it was, the oldest one up here was 64 weeks. You know, so there's like really old tickets up there. And so what was happening was those guys were all sitting at their desks, and they're working away, talking to people, and they're working away. And then all of a sudden, out of the blue, without any warning from anybody, this thing pops up. And so I said to Jabe, how do you think we can, you know, incentivize them? Because we all fall into the same traps, right? How do you think we can incentivize these people to deal with these? And one of them disappears. I said, did you see that? He says, yeah, and then another one disappeared. So basically, they're sitting there working at their desks. They're confronted visually with this information, and they're like, that's ugly. That offends me as a professional. I've got to make that whole screen go away. And so they did. They jumped on it immediately and just started nuking the whole thing. And so what I like about this quote down here is that when you get down to the bottom here where it says one must understand the work so that, you know, oops. That's a powerful button. One must understand the works that he and his people are responsible for, and his people is the key thing. So Jabe theoretically was responsible for that work, but when everybody took responsibility for it, they leaped right on it, right? So they went from just being workers to actually being mindful of the state of the work that was confronting them. And once they achieved that level of mindfulness, no one needed to tell them what to do whatsoever. You just needed to give them the information they needed to do a good job. So